to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Welcome to another episode of World of Africa on WION World is One. I'm Eric Njoka. This week, South Africans are seething with anger after President Trump's administration made good its promise to rescue white Afrikaners from oppression and purported genocide and provide them asylum in the United States. Those who have been left behind are admonishing and rebuking the 50 Afrikaners for escapism. Many even doubted their departing compatriots would find life much better in the US. The show starts now. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to relocate 1 million Palestinians to Libya might not bear fruit as the North African nation got embroiled in fresh unrest. Hundreds of Libyan protesters called for the ouster of the internationally recognized Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah, and at least 3 ministers resigned in sympathy with the protesters. Libya's United Nations recognized government said it was pressing efforts to reach a permanent ceasefire after days of deadly clashes in the capital and protests demanding the Prime Minister's resignation. Here is our cover report from Tripoli.
Trouble started on this night. Then deadly clashes followed after powerful militia leader Abdel Ghani al-Kikli, also known as Ghaniwa, was killed in an ambush at a military base. This was the aftermath of the overnight brawl. Charred vehicles and damaged buildings riddled with bullet holes in the Libyan capital Tripoli, following fresh gun battles between 2 powerful armed groups just a day after authorities declared the fighting over. Protests were to follow as a wave of violence in Tripoli in the past week that led to the deaths of at least 8 civilians. Before the demonstrations, the United Nations Support Mission in Libya had emphasized citizens' right to peaceful protest and warned against any escalation of violence. Clashes leaving 1 security officer dead. Ministers resigned in solidarity as unrest deepened over Libya's stalled political process. Hundreds of Libyan protesters called for the ouster of the internationally recognized Prime Minister and his government.
We came today to demand the downfall of this government and the strengthening of a national government to organize a chosen national consensus. We also ask to consider the dissolution of armed units.
Down with the government of collaborators, the government of normalization. With God's help, we will not leave the square and will continue the civil disobedience until Dbeibah falls.
At least 3 ministers resigned in sympathy with the protesters, who want Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah to quit. The demonstrators carried pictures of Dbeibah, National Security Advisor Ibrahim Dbeibah, and Interior Minister Ahmad Tabulsi, with their faces crossed out in red. State oil firm NOC said in a statement that its operations at oil facilities are proceeding as normal, with oil and gas exports operating regularly. National oil output in the past 24 hours was at 1,376,415 barrels. Dbeibah, who leads the divided country's government of national unity, came to power through a United Nations-backed process in 2021. Planned elections failed to proceed that year because of disagreements among rival factions, and he has remained in power. Calls for Dbeibah to resign increased after 2 rival armed groups clashed in the capital this week in the heaviest fighting in years. 8 civilians were killed. Violence flared after the Prime Minister ordered the armed groups to be dismantled. Demonstrators have accused Dbeibah of failing to restore stability and of being complicit in the growing power of armed groups.
أي طرف ينحاز للدولة.
We will welcome all those who choose to stand with the state. We will sideline those who resort to blackmail and corruption. Our goal is a Libya free of militias and corruption.
أن الميليشيات تغولت.
Militias had grown excessively to the point of controlling the entire political, financial, economic, and even social landscape.
وحتى الاجتماعي.
The United Nations Support Mission in Libya expressed its concern over the escalation of violence in Tripoli, calling on parties to take the appropriate measures to protect civilians and public property. Libya has had little stability since a 2011 NATO-backed uprising ousted longtime autocrat Muammar Gaddafi. The country split in 2014 between rival eastern and western factions, though an outbreak of major warfare paused with a truce in 2020. While eastern Libya has been dominated for a decade by Commander Khalifa Haftar and his Libyan National Army, control in Tripoli and western Libya has been splintered among numerous armed factions. The main oil facilities in the major energy exporter are located in southern and eastern Libya, far from fighting in Tripoli. Engineers at several oil fields and export terminals say output remained unaffected by the clashes. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
US President Donald Trump has criticized South Africa's black-led government on multiple fronts and issued an executive order on February 7th cutting all US funding to the country as punishment for what he said were its anti-white policies at home and anti-American foreign policy. This has forced the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to pay Trump a visit. Here's a report by our correspondent Kalden Ongmu from Johannesburg.
US President Donald Trump has been saying on repeat.
But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me.
And just early this month, his administration fulfilled that promise of repatriating a small group of white South Africans as refugees. The decision to admit the 49 people also has raised questions from refugee advocates about why this group should be admitted when the Trump administration has suspended efforts to resettle people who are fleeing war and persecution and have gone through years of vetting before coming to the United States. The group from South Africa, including children holding small American flags, arrived at Dulles International Airport outside Washington on a private charter plane and was greeted by Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Lando and Homeland Security Deputy Secretary Troy Edgar. Back in South Africa, the issue has got people talking. Most are perturbed by the move.
Well, the farmers that we've met here today are saying they are happy to stay in South Africa. All they need is for us to work with them to address the challenges they face. One of them is rural roads. They want us to work with them, deal with it.
I don't believe in running away from problems. You know, we've got a lovely country. And we make it work, and especially Afrikaans people, I think since we came here, we always made it work. It doesn't matter what happened, you know, in the past and so on. We always look up and just make things work.
I feel nothing. I'm happy for them. They must go back home. I agree that's where they come from. They must go back home and seek refuge at home. How many foreigners do we have in South Africa that comes each and every year to seek refuge in South Africa? So why must I feel something about them going back home?
The issue even forced South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to seek redress. The president arrived in the United States ahead of the meeting with United States President Donald Trump. The purpose of the visit is to reset and revitalize bilateral relations between the two countries. South Africa denies that allegation and says whites in the majority black country are not being singled out for persecution. The resettlement of some Afrikaners seeking refuge in the US has been met with a lot of criticism back home in South Africa. Social media has been flooded with memes with both white and black people criticizing the few dozens that have already left. Reports say there are more people in the queue who is interested in accepting Trump's invite. Now, all this comes at a time when President Trump and President Ramaphosa will be meeting face-to-face on Wednesday for the first time to iron out all the differences. Will Ramaphosa be able to convince Trump that there is no genocide against white people in South Africa? Or will Trump continue to remain adamant about the misinformation? Only time will tell. This is Kalden Almu from Johannesburg, South Africa for WION World is One.
Ali Bongo Ondimba, who was ousted as president in August 2023, was released from house arrest this week. News of his arrival in Angola alongside his wife and son sparked varied reactions from Gabonese citizens, some of whom questioned how they left the country despite facing serious charges. Here's a report.
This is the moment deposed Gabonese President Ali Bongo touched down at the Luanda International Airport in Angola and received by President João Lourenço, ousted in a coup in 2023. Bongo flew to Angola with his wife and son, who were transferred from prison to house arrest last week.
Je précise que cette mesure, cette décision
I would like to make it clear that this measure, this decision to grant provisional release, in no way interrupts the normal course of the proceedings, which will continue until a fair, transparent, equitable, and timely trial is held.
équitable et dans les délais raisonnables.
African Union officials called last month for the release of Bongo's wife, Sylvia Bongo, and son, Noruddin, who were taken into custody shortly after the August 2023 coup and accused of crimes including embezzlement and money laundering. 66-year-old Ali Bongo was initially placed under house arrest in Libreville, though transitional authorities later stated he was free to move as he wished, a point his supporters disputed. Bongo had ruled Gabon since 2009, succeeding his father Omar Bongo after more than 4 decades in power. Others were happy to see him go.
This matter is not normal at all, because they took Gabon, they stole the money, Gabonese are suffering, so Gabonese are unemployed and everything is going backwards. Some people are playing games all day long and others are there drinking wine. It's because there's no work. But they wasted Gabon's money doing bad things, paying for drugs, doing really anything. Really, they haven't been judged. They are really disappointed.
I am surprised, like most Gabonese, to know that a person who was arrested for certain acts, whose judgment has not yet been pronounced, has been released and is in Angola today, according to Angolan presidency communications. We are all surprised. We want a bit more information about what really happened for Mrs. Ali and their son to be in Angola today.
The expulsion of the Bongo family came a week after Gabon's Brice Oligui Nguema, whose coup ended 55 years of rule by the Bongo family, took oath as president before a packed stadium and more than a dozen African leaders. The former junta leader, who won nearly 95% of the vote in last month's election, was sworn in for a 7-year term after 19 months of military rule since he toppled Ali Bongo in August 2023.
Moi, Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema.
I, Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema, elected President of the Republic, pledge before God and our ancestors and the people of Gabon to preserve all my strength for their well-being.
It marked the first time the country holds a swearing-in ceremony in front of such a large audience. 50-year-old Oligui faces serious challenges in leading the oil-rich country, which needs to revamp crucial infrastructure and diversify its economy, but is heavily indebted. Among the main concerns are an aging electricity network which suffers frequent power cuts, youth unemployment that hovers at 40%, poor or lacking roads, and a ballooning public debt forecast to hit 80% of GDP this year. Africa Bureau, WION World is One.
Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has warned activists from neighboring Kenya that she will not allow them to meddle in her country's affairs and cause chaos. Her comments came after prominent Kenyan lawyers and rights campaigners were deported, preventing them from attending the court case of an opposition leader charged with treason. Here is a report from Dar es Salaam.
We are awaiting deportation. Here we are, these are our bags.
Kenya's opposition leader and lawyer Martha Karua is seen in the viral video with her luggage at the Dar es Salaam International Airport in Tanzania, where she claimed she was stopped by the police and ordered to return home. Karua was due to attend, as an observer, the trial of Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu, but authorities were adamant and deported the activist. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan was to later issued a warning to foreign activists, accusing them of attempting to interfere in Tanzania's internal affairs.
We have started noticing a trend of activists in our region invading and infiltrating issues of our country if they are gagged in their country, Kenya. They should not come and wreak havoc here. I have seen clips that I am biased and whatnot. What I'm doing is to protect Tanzania, which is the duty that was bestowed to me.
If we can be detained and deported because they know that we are there to attend as observers the case against Tundu Lissu tomorrow, it means that they are violating the right to a fair public trial.
There were reports that a leading Kenyan activist was arrested at his hotel in Tanzania, where he had planned to attend an opposition leader's treason trial. Boniface Mwangi was among several regional activists who travelled to Tanzania to show solidarity with opposition leader Tundu Lissu during his court appearance. Tanzania's opposition leader, Tundu Lissu, appeared in court for the first time since his arrest on April 9th, facing charges of treason and publishing false information online. The court ruled that he will remain in custody pending further investigations, with the next hearing scheduled for June 2nd. Outside the court, dozens of protesters gathered, chanting "People's Power" as police stood guard. Lissu appeared in court wearing a T-shirt printed with the phrase, "No reforms, no election," a slogan that reflects his long-standing call for democratic reforms. Among those in court was former Kenyan Chief Justice David Maraga, who travelled to Tanzania in a show of solidarity. Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
A clever little invention aims to help blind youngsters play football independently. It's called a sound ball, and it contains metal compartments and ball bearings. Kenyan track and field athletes are among the best in the world, but the nation's passion is for football, a sport out of reach for many blind and visually impaired people. Here's a report from Nairobi.
They look like any other football, but if you start kicking them around, you can't help but notice they have a very loud adaptation. And it's that which is helping blind and visually impaired people get back into the beautiful game. These sound balls are made at this workshop in Nairobi, supported by non-profit organization Alive and Kicking.
Everybody deserves the right to play, even if you can't see. And I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to work out how to create a ball that when it rolled made a sound, so that people who are visually impaired could actually chase around, hear the ball and have fun, as much fun as kids who were normally sighted.
Paralympian Henry Wanyoik is enthusiastic about the project. He was tipped for stardom in the Olympics, but a stroke in 1995 signaled the start of his blindness. Since then, he's won a string of medals in the Paralympics. Wanyoik believes youngsters should not be locked out of playing games by their disability.
Before, there were only few sports for the people with disability, but now through the innovation of such balls, we are able to bring more on board, and we can have now more representation in Paralympics than what was happening before.
Students here at the Thika School for the Blind are already enjoying the sound ball. Among them is 18-year-old Dennis Gitonga, who lost his sight at the tender age of 14. Before losing his sight, he had been a competitive footballer. He says being able to play again is helping him rekindle his love for the game.
Involving myself in futsal, that is adapted football, reminds me about my past and makes me feel as if I'm included. I'm still included in the normal world, even though I have no ability to see, even though I read Braille. So I feel included. I enjoy playing football.
To keep costs low, Alive and Kicking uses Kenyan-sourced raw materials. The initiative is sustained by sales of other products. And even though economic hardship has adversely affected demand, the group's vision has managed to stay, as its name suggests, Alive and Kicking, Africa Bureau, WION, World is One.
During a granny's beauty pageant in Tokoza, south of Johannesburg, senior beauties strut down the catwalk as friends and families watched on with pride. The contest is also a recognition of their lives, which many have devoted to the care of their loved ones. Watch.
Just see the grannies are suffering, and the grannies, they do a good job, and they're the hard workers, and they grow the grandchildren. And the granny, we want all of us to take care of them, because now they did a hard job and good job. So we want them, people, to take care of them.
I feel happy today. It brings my memories back, where I came from. It takes me back to my youth days, when I was still young, when I still know I was sure of myself.
I'm here to support Abokoko Bethu. As we know, the youth, we sometimes neglect them and just let them be. And this is a great reminder to them that you remain beautiful, you are appreciated, remain kind. Yeah.
And those are some of the stories creating a buzz on the continent. Thank you for watching this week's episode of World of Africa. Keep in touch with us on all our social media platforms. Talk to us there. Tell us your story. We will tell it to the world. I'm Eric Njoka. I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye for now.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Dive into the world of tokenization with me on Token Money Magnet, only on WION.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? explore the harrowing effects of climate change.